2 weeks ago, as I was editing my last video, check it out if you haven't, please. I was scrolling through social media, procrastinating per usual, when I see that a third-party figure company I follow, Demoniacal Fit, posted this image. Prior to that image, another third-party company, Kamione, formerly Tansen Art Toys, had begun pre-orders for a third-party SH figure art style Gogeta using the SHF 3.0 articulation. Prior to Kamione releasing their Gogeta for pre-order, Demoniacal Fit had already shown prototypes and began pre-orders for their own 3.0 Gogeta. Once Kamione showed off their Gogeta, competition quickly started, and well, I'd like to talk about that today. I'd like to talk about the that was uncalled for. Anyways, I'll be talking about both Demoniacal Fit and Kamione's Gogetas, what I like about both figures, as well as some negatives regarding the whole situation. Plus, at the end of the video, I'll say which one I will be getting personally. This video is mostly just my opinions. A lot of what I say wasn't researched in depth, so take some of what I say later on with a grain of salt. Remember, we all got our own opinions and can make mistakes when saying things, so please, have mercy on me. To start, we'll be looking at a few images of Demoniacal Fit's Super Gogeta, since it's the figure that came out first. When Demoniacal Fit first showed off their Gogeta, it was an unpainted prototype, but if I recall correctly, it had a halo, letting people know that it was specifically the version of Gogeta seen in the movie Dragon Ball Z Fusion Reborn, aka Super Gogeta. Later on, they showed the painted figure, and obviously, it looks amazing. Just look at it. It's beautiful. It comes with a good amount of hands and alternate faces, as well as a Stardust Breaker / Soul Punisher accessory. The amount of things it includes is comparable to a standard SH Figure Arts figure, a few alternate faces and a lot of hands. It's the standard and it's great. The paint is great, capturing Super Gogeta's colors well. The faces are pretty nice, having what's basically the standard for SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball faces, those being a neutral face, a smile, scream, and gritted teeth version. To me, all the faces also remind me of slightly older SH Figure Arts like the Super Saiyan Blue Goku, or even the Gogeta, where the faces look like the characters but don't try to be a specific moment from either animated material or the manga. It looks standardized in a way. It's something that Tamashii Nations has begun doing less of with releases like Goku, the Lowest Born Saiyan, or that Comic-Con Goku with Gohan, or Vegeta 24,000 power level. The leg joints are based on the SH Figure Arts Ultimate Gohan from Dragon Ball Superhero, which is one of the first 3.0 SHFs as far as I'm aware. Personally, I still think that the 3.0 Gohan leg articulation is the best looking. I feel the more squared off leg articulation from figures like Orange Piccolo, Metal Cooler, and even Kamione's Gogeta kinda look like they get in the way, even though they really don't. I know because I have Metal Cooler, and my friend has Legendary Super Saiyan Goku. In that case, I can say that the squared off look doesn't really get in the way. That was my pencil, ignore it. Well, moving on. Kamione's Gogeta. What's there to say aside from the fact that it's looking amazing? Of course, at the time of me writing this, June 16th, 2025, the figure is still a render. I think there's a prototype or two floating around, but I'm not too sure. Regardless, they're knocking it out of the park, coming out with two Gogetas at once, both with a lot of accessories. Some unique to each version, such as a Stardust Breaker / Soul Punisher with Super Gogeta, or these effects with DBS Gogeta, as well as DBS Gogeta having a wavy hair head, while Super Gogeta has a head with a halo, rather than just having one head with a peg for the halo like how SH Figure Arts does with some of their releases. These figures focus on anime accuracy when it comes to faces and colors. Both Gogeta's color palettes are entirely different, accommodating their respective movies, as well as having faces that capture specific moments in their appearances. Although the non-accurate fact is that the faces remain the same for both of them, meaning you got a DBS Gogeta with Super Gogeta smile. Personally, I don't mind, but I wanted to point that out. Same goes for this face, which is from Gogeta running towards Broly before using the Stardust Breaker / Soul Punisher. Anyways, another thing I noticed that I also don't mind is the sort of texture that he has. He has this sort of rough and uneven look to him. It's mostly noticeable here in the chest. It has these odd angles and sudden smooth areas. I likely won't really care about it later on, but it's something I can't help but notice. DF's Gogeta lacks this, being fully smooth like your average SH Figure Arts figure. A small while after the pre-orders for Kamione's Gogetas began, Demoniacal Fit posted this image on their Instagram. They showed off their already existing Super Gogeta, as well as another Gogeta, this time one based on the movie Dragon Ball Super Broly. At first I thought to myself, nah, this is just desperate since the competition is winning, considering the fact that, well, suddenly after people canceled their DF Gogeta pre-orders in order to buy the Kamione one, seeing as they made a DBS Gogeta, DF now makes a DBS Gogeta, with alternate heads including a base form head, wavy hair head, crossed arms, and other stuff that Kamione's Gogeta has that DF's didn't. But I eventually saw the description. Aside from DF saying that it's not just a lazy recolor throwing a jab at Kamione, which, yeah, I can see it, especially with how both Kamione Gogetas share faces. They then said something that I feel is pretty cool. They're making it so both their Gogetas can share accessories, both of them having different things included, as well as sharing a skin tone and arm guard colors. That's actually really cool. It comes at the cost of anime accuracy, seeing as Super Gogeta and DBS Gogeta don't share color palettes. But it does, however, increase playability and allows for variety to be had on how you pose your figures. Although it does kinda lock the crossed arms behind a Gogeta-shaped paywall if you only want to own Super Gogeta. Regardless, I'm glad both are doing things to stand out, and that DF is not giving up even after people canceled a lot of their Gogeta pre-orders from them. I also gotta say that DF's faces for DBS Gogeta are looking amazing, though that screaming face is looking a little more to the side than I'd like. But I'm sure there's gonna be another screaming face where he's looking forward. I hope. So now there's 4 Gogetas by 2 companies, both competing to sell their respective Gogetas. But which one do I prefer? Which one am I buying? Before I say that, I want to talk about how I feel DF's Gogeta, to me, embraces something more along the lines of a standard SH Figure Arts figure, with the good, but small amount of faces, the good amount of hands, and one accessory, kinda reminding me of an older SH Figure Arts figure. Meanwhile, Kamione more so embraces being a third-party figure, in the way that it has more moment-specific faces, the way it hides the obvious fact that it's Gogeta, as well as adding stuff that would be pretty rare for an actual SHF release. Both are really great, and in the end, it'll depend on the buyer to see which one is the Gogeta for them. We can't all buy 4 of them, so for most people like myself, we gotta pick just one. So, which one did I pre-order? Well, I pre-ordered Kamione's DBS Gogeta the day after pre-orders came out on AliExpress. Goodbye.